What if I told you that Britain's Prime Minister credits a football comic book for shaping his worldview? What if the same stories that inspired millions of British children to dream big also influenced the man now leading one of the world's most powerful nations? This isn't just about nostalgia. This is about how Roy Race, a fictional footballer from Melchester Rovers, became more than just entertainment. He became a blueprint for resilience, leadership, and never giving up. And recently, standing in a Ukrainian school, Keir Starmer revealed something that shocked the nation. Before we dive into this incredible story, hit subscribe to uncover the hidden influences that shape our leaders and make sure no story stays buried in the archives. The year was 1954. Post-war Britain was rebuilding, and children were hungry for heroes. Not just any heroes, relatable ones. Heroes who faced the same struggles they did, who got knocked down but always got back up. That's when Roy Race was born. Created for Tiger Comic, Roy wasn't your typical superhero. He didn't have superpowers or a cape. He had something more powerful: hope. Roy was a working-class kid who rose through the ranks to become captain of Melchester Rovers, facing every challenge imaginable both on and off the pitch. But here's what made Roy of the Rovers revolutionary. It didn't just show success, it showed failure, heartbreak, and the grinding reality of never giving up. Roy faced corrupt managers, jealous teammates, career-threatening injuries, and even assassination attempts. Sound familiar? These weren't just football stories. They were life lessons wrapped in sporting drama. For 39 years, from 1954 to 1993, Roy of the Rovers dominated British culture. At its peak, over 400,000 copies flew off the shelves every week. The phrase, "Roy of the Rovers stuff," entered the Cambridge Dictionary, meaning improbable but thrilling comebacks against all odds. This wasn't just a comic, it was a cultural phenomenon that shaped an entire generation. But what makes this story even more incredible is who was reading these comics in the 1960s and 70s. In working-class households across Britain, children gathered around kitchen tables, sharing copies that were passed from friend to friend. Among those children was a young boy from Surrey who would grow up to become Britain's Prime Minister. Fast forward to January 2025. Keir Starmer is visiting a school in war-torn Ukraine, surrounded by children who are living through their own impossible challenges. When asked about his favorite book, he doesn't mention classic literature or political manifestos. Instead, he says something that sends shockwaves through the British media. "My favorite book is Roy of the Rovers. It's a fabulous book, well known in Anfield. I love football, so all my books are about football." The reaction was immediate. Critics mocked him for choosing a comic over serious literature, but they missed the point entirely. Starmer wasn't just naming a childhood favorite, he was revealing the foundational philosophy that guided his entire career. Think about it. Roy Race's journey mirrors Starmer's own path in ways that are almost uncanny. Both rose from ordinary backgrounds to lead their respective fields. Both faced skepticism, betrayal, and seemingly impossible odds. Both had to rebuild after devastating setbacks. Roy Race wasn't just a footballer, he was a leader. When Melchester Rovers faced financial ruin, Roy didn't abandon ship. He fought to save the club. When corrupt officials tried to rig matches, Roy exposed them, even at personal cost. When his team was demoralized after defeats, Roy inspired them to believe in themselves again. Sound like anyone you know? Starmer's political career reads like a Roy of the Rovers storyline. Rising from human rights lawyer to opposition leader, facing internal party conflicts, dealing with electoral defeats, and ultimately becoming prime minister against the odds. The same values that Roy embodied, integrity, perseverance, and putting the team before personal glory, became Starmer's political blueprint. But there's something darker in this story, too. Roy's journey wasn't always triumphant. In 1982, in one of comics' most shocking moments, Roy was shot by a deranged fan. He survived, but the incident showed that even heroes aren't invincible. Then came 1993, the end of an era. In a helicopter crash that horrified readers, Roy lost his left leg, ending his playing career forever. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. Britain itself was changing. The optimistic post-war era was ending. Traditional industries were collapsing. The simple certainties that Roy represented were being challenged by a more complex, cynical world. Yet Roy's final message wasn't one of defeat. Even with his career over, he continued as a manager, mentor, and inspiration. He proved that leadership isn't about personal glory. It's about lifting others up, even when you can't compete yourself. This is the lesson that Starmer absorbed from those countless hours reading Roy of the Rovers. When he became Labour leader after their devastating 2019 defeat, he didn't promise impossible victories or revolutionary changes. Instead, he offered something more valuable: steady leadership, integrity, and the promise to rebuild, just like Roy would have done. The critics who mocked Starmer for citing a comic book as his favorite completely missed the cultural significance. Roy of the Rovers wasn't just entertainment, it was education. It taught an entire generation of British children that working-class heroes could succeed through hard work and moral courage. It showed them that setbacks aren't endings, they're new beginnings. In that Ukrainian school, surrounded by children facing their own impossible challenges, Starmer's choice becomes even more profound. He wasn't just sharing nostalgia, he was offering hope. The same hope that Roy Race gave to millions of British children, the same hope that guided a young boy from Surrey to 10 Downing Street. But here's the twist that makes this story even more incredible. Starmer isn't the only world leader shaped by childhood comics. Many of history's most influential figures credit seemingly simple stories with profound impacts on their worldview. What we dismiss as just entertainment often becomes the foundation for how we understand courage, justice, and leadership. Roy of the Rovers ended in 1993, but its influence lives on. The comic has been revived multiple times, always finding new readers who need its particular brand of hope and determination. Because the truth is, we all need heroes who show us that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things through persistence and integrity. Today, as Britain faces its own complex challenges, economic uncertainty, international tensions, social divisions, perhaps having a prime minister who learned his leadership lessons from Roy Race isn't such a bad thing. After all, Roy never promised easy victories or simple solutions. He just promised to never give up, to always put the team first, and to face each challenge with courage and honor. In a world of cynical politics and broken promises, maybe we need more leaders who learned their values from stories about working-class heroes who refused to quit. Maybe we need more politicians who understand that true leadership isn't about personal glory. It's about inspiring others to believe in themselves and their collective power to overcome any obstacle. So the next time someone dismisses comics as childish entertainment, remind them of this. The same stories that taught a generation of British children to dream big also shaped the man now leading one of the world's most influential nations. Because sometimes, the most profound truths come wrapped in the simplest stories. And somewhere in Britain tonight, there's probably a child reading about Roy Race's latest adventure, learning the same lessons about courage, integrity, and never giving up that once inspired a future prime minister. Because heroes never really die. They just inspire new generations to carry on their legacy. Roy of the Rovers may have ended in 1993, but his influence continues in ways the creators never imagined. From the football pitches of Britain to the corridors of power in Westminster, the spirit of Roy Race lives on, proving that sometimes the most important lessons come from the most unexpected places. After all, as Roy himself might say, it's not about the glory of the individual. It's about what the team can achieve together. And that, perhaps, is exactly the kind of leadership Britain needs right now.